Good morning everybody, my name is Adithya and today in this video we will be looking at how to create a custom chatbot with speech as its input using Azure services. First we would require some resources. They are Azure OpenAI resource, Azure Blob storage with your data, Azure AI search service and a speech resource. Now open the created AI OpenAI resource in the Azure OpenAI Studio and create a deployment of any model of your choice. I have used an ChatGPT 35 Turbo 16K. Next, in the setup pane, choose add a data source. Choose the data source. I have chosen the upload files option. Next, select your Azure Blob resource and Azure AI search resource. After that, enter the index name and copy it somewhere as we would require it in the further steps. Then upload a file of your choice. It can be multiple files, but there are some restrictions on the file types. This is the file that I am using to train my chatbot. Next, choose your search type and the chunk size. Coming to the chatbot, we are going to have three stages: initialization, the speech and the chatbot. First up, initialization. We are going to import the required libraries that are os.env, Azure OpenAI from OpenAI and Speech SDK. Then we are using the load.env function to get the environment variables. Now, what are these environment variables that we need to store? They will be stored in a .env file in the same folder as the file. First, save the endpoint URL, which would be the Azure OpenAI endpoint, which can be found in the keys and endpoints page. Then the deployment name would be the name of the deployment that you have created while creating the deployment. Then would be the search endpoint, which is the endpoint of the Azure AI search resource, which can be found in the page of the Azure AI search. And in the keys page of the resource, you can find the admin key. Lastly, mention the index name, which was the name of the index that we have created. Next, we move on to the speech phase. Here, we are going to take the user's prompt through his microphone. Next, we are creating the speech config and the audio config, which would have the details of the speech recording. That is, in the speech config, we would have the speech resource key and the region, and in the audio config, we would have different parameters, for example, from which microphone to take it. Over here, we have set it to take it from the default microphone. Also, we are setting the recognition language as English US. Then we are creating a speech recognizer variable, which is nothing but an object of the speech recognizer class, in which we are passing the parameters as the speech config and the audio config. Next, from the speech recognizer object, we are using the recognize once async function and the get function to get the user's input, and we are storing it in the speech result variable. Afterwards, we are creating an OpenAI client. We are passing in the endpoint, API key and the API version. Lastly, the chatbot. We are using completions for this. The model is the custom bot, which is the deployment name, and in the messages, we are passing in the user's input from his microphone. This is the speech result.text. Also, if you notice, in the data sources part, we have used the external data that we have that is stored as an index using Azure search. That is why we are passing in the search endpoint and the search index. Lastly, we are printing the user's prompt followed by a new line and the chatbot's response. Let us test it out. What is an LLM? There you go. The program has returned back the chatbot's response. Thank you, and please subscribe to my channel.